YouTube or Facebook. To my right, it'll be your left, we have Mr. Julius Buckley. Next to him will be Mr. Roscoe Warwick. Next to him will be Mr. Brent McWaters. Okay, next will be our city manager, Mr. Lee Tipton. Myself. Next to me will be Mr. Charles Williams of Olson & Olson. He'll be our city attorney tonight. And next will be Ms. Rachel Hall. And last but not least, Dr. Tanya Clark. Okay, and tonight we're going to have our opening prayer by Reverend John Kropanak. And after he prays, we're going to get Dr. Tanya Clark to lead us in both pledges. And he is John Kropanak, Reverend John Kropanak from the Methodist Church here in Cleveland. Glad to have you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for having me. It's a pleasure. Would you join me in prayer by bowing your head? Let's go to the Lord together. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening and for the chance to gather here in the city of Cleveland, serving this community which we love together. Lord, give this council wisdom, clear minds, and open hearts as we begin tonight's work. We lift up all who serve this city, God, and we ask you to watch over them and their families. Give us courage to do what is just and grant us grace and patience with one another. Bless this city, Lord, and let it be in Cleveland as it is in heaven. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Okay.
We can face the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You can face the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, we got a proclamation here. Okay, this month of July, we're going to recognize this Parks and Recreation Month, and it's something that we take seriously here in Cleveland. In the last several years, we've invested a lot of money and quality of life here in Cleveland, upgrading all of our parks, and I just want to thank the staff and the council, for helping us facilitate these improvements for our kids here in Cleveland. Okay. City of Cleveland, Texas proclamation, designation of July as Park and Recreation Month. Whereas parks and recreations are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of Cleveland, Texas, and whereas our parks and recreations are vitally important to establishing and maintaining a quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens and contributing to economic and environmental well-being of a community and region, and whereas Parks and Recreation Program build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation area are fundamental to the environment, well-being of our community, and whereas parks and recreation programs increase community economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of local tax base, increased tourism, and attraction and retention of businesses and crime reduction, and whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the City of Cleveland, Texas recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, and now therefore I, Danny Lee, Mayor of City of Cleveland, hereby proclaim July as Parks and Recreation Month. And I'm going to present this to Mr. Roger Brooks, our Public Works Director. Appreciate the job that you do. Thank you. Okay. Okay, next we have the Employee of the Month, Ms. Pam Cogbill. Okay. City of Cleveland Employee of the Month for June 2026. The certificate proudly presented to Pam Cogbill for exceptional performance this month and appreciation of your loyalty in achieving company goals. Pam, I want to thank you for the work that you do here in Cleveland, here in City Hall. You always come in positive. You're willing to help out in any way, and you just bring a good spirit to City Hall, and stay with us. Don't go nowhere. But thank you, and I think Lee has a trophy there for you. Come on, Pam. Yeah.
Come on, Pamela.
Thank you, Pam. Okay, we're going to ask Mr. Caven Harrell, would he come forward? Okay, Caven, last month was actually his 20th year anniversary, but he wasn't able to make it to the meeting. And the way I look at it, if a man stay on one job 20 years, I told him, hey, look, Caven, you come next month and we're going to recognize you. But people don't stay on jobs 20 years no more. And you've done a good job here in Cleveland. Every time I see you, you're positive. You have a good, kind spirit, and you bring a lot of value to the city, and we really appreciate your work. And man, awesome that you've been here for 20 years. So just stay with us another 20. Okay. And we also have a little plaque for you. Thank you, Calvin. Appreciate you. Yes, sir. All right. Good times in Cleveland, Texas. I like that, though. 20 years. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, now we have the recognition out the way. Now we'll come to public comments. Members of the public may address the City Council regarding city-related businesses as permitted by the Texas Open Meeting Act. The City Council may not deliberate or take action on any matter not posted on the agenda except as authorized by state law. Individuals wishing to speak must be recognized by the presiding officer. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker unless authorized by the presiding officer pursuant to the adopted meeting rules and applicable law. Ms. Juanita Lamont, she has our timer over here, and the first speaker tonight will be Pastor Tommy Roberts, 103 B. Roberts Lane here in Cleveland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
council. Appreciate the opportunity to do this. I have something that I'd like to pass out just real quickly.
Yes, sir.
If that's okay.
Okay. Yes, sir. Okay.
I wanted to share this with council and city leaders tonight, mainly to ask for your prayers and support concerning this upcoming event in the Cleveland Civic Center. It's called Gather Night Cleveland, and it's a congregate of people from all over the greater Cleveland area, basically. And the purpose of Gather Night is to lift up one name, the Lord Jesus Christ, for one reason, and that's to praise Him in unity as one body, desiring to see His kingdom manifested in Cleveland, Texas, as it is in heaven. I love that prayer that the brother gave a while ago about that. Gather Night is focused primarily on promoting unity in the body of Christ, not promoting a particular church or particular denomination. It's about people from all Christian denominations and all Christian gatherings coming together for a time of seeking the presence of God and His grace for our region. Gather Night is a free event of united believers hungry for a move of the Holy Spirit in our churches and in our community. Gather Night is basically driven by the prayer that Jesus prayed in John 17:11, where He asked the Father, He asked that those that were given to Him would be one as He and the Father are one. Gather Night will take place in the Cleveland Civic Center, as I said earlier, on Friday, August the 7th, from 7 to 9 p.m. We do ask, there's a Facebook page set up. We do ask that you register if you plan on attending. It's a free event, but they have to kind of keep up with the numbers because there's a limitation there, how many they can put in the Civic Center. So they're asking that, and many musicians will be a part of that. There's really not going to be a time where there's a minister that gets up and preaches. It's just a time of praise and worship as the body of Christ in Cleveland, Texas. And so we encourage you, if at all possible, to be a part of that, and we certainly ask for your prayers and your support in this as well. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Tommy. Okay, next we'll have Miss Judith Redmond, 1780 Spring Ridge Road. Miss Redmond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. I apologize. It's very emotional. I am here on behalf of not only the Cleveland area, we live in Cold Spring, neighboring town, the whole area here, opposing the closing of our oncology clinic here in Cleveland. It was opened 7 years ago by a wonderful physician, Dr. Pierre Corey. It's been taken over by Texas Oncology, and they are scheduling a closure as of the end of August. And this will be devastating to me, myself, and many, many other people in our community in the Liberty, St. Jacinta, Polk, and all surrounding areas. As I understand it, it serves about 1,000 plus patients. I myself have been diagnosed with severe systemic disease that's a constant threat to life, is the way the doctor labels it. I have actually multiple potentially fatal diseases. I have been helped in the last 5 years by infusions to survive all of this by this clinic that has been so valuable, that was opened by Dr. Pierre Corey for the specific reason to serve, and he saw the need as an oncologist to serve a rural area. Now this large corporation that is owned by U.S. Oncology, which is really McKesson, is threatening to, or they have scheduled actually for this closure. We're doing all that we can to come before you all and all of our political officials that we can and get the support to obtain a reversal of this decision. I've been in contact personally with the upper management in the corporate office. They have no reasonable reason to close this clinic, and it will be so detrimental. We will be required to, in order to continue my infusions, to travel to Kingwood, which is already overcrowded. I've been there before. And it'll be, for us in Cold Spring, depending on the traffic, 2 to 3 hours round trip, in addition to my 4-hour infusion. It will be absolutely devastating. My husband has to drive me. He also has severe health issues himself, including having had open heart bypass surgery 2 years ago. So this is going to put a tremendous stress if we have to do this. So my options will be to either stop the infusions altogether, which will cause me to have the possibility of bleeding to death because it's an autoimmune system that affects the clotting of my blood, or to go under this stress of traveling that time, which he or I, either one, puts our lives at very much risk. He has other health issues besides the heart issue, and we very potentially could lose our lives, just the stress of it. It's just way too much. It's too much. I appreciate you all listening and your attention to this. I realize there's not anything you can politically do, but your prayers, as we've already heard here, we are depending on our prayers, everyone's prayers, and your support, however you can support us in this endeavor to prevent this closure that is so important to all of us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Redmond. Okay, next we'll have Ms. Cheryl Roth. Ruth?
Good evening, everyone. I'm here also for the Texas Oncology closure. I'm Cheryl Ruth, and I live right here in the Cleveland area in Tarkington Prairie. I was diagnosed with cancer in 2019, I think, and then went to Pierre Corey, got my treatments here, been working with him, great. It's been perfectly fine right here in our community. They're closing. Texas Oncology bought out Millennium Oncology. McKesson is a huge corporation. They made $4.7 million last year. It's a money grab. It's not about us. It's about the money. We need your help. We need your support in getting some sort of oncology, some sort of medical community together. I know the hospital's opening. I don't know what's coming in the near future for the hospital to be able to have oncology services here, not only for infusions, but for shots, iron, other, all of the oncology items that they provide. what we're asking from you is to send them a formal letter, and I can say demanding, but it's up to you, demanding that they find staffing solutions, because that's what they say is the problem. Nobody wants to come to Cleveland. Why? It's a lovely place, right? We all support our community. We love it, or we wouldn't be here. But we ask that you send them a letter demanding them to find a solution to keep the Cleveland Clinic open, or at least to partner with another oncology facility to take over that facility. They're taking away the health care benefits for a lot of seniors, a lot of younger people that have disabilities that can't take care of themselves, they can't drive. I don't drive. You may look at me and say, well, what's wrong with you? Well, there's a lot of things that have happened in my life. I don't think you want to hear all of that in the 3 minutes. I don't have time. But we also want to help either bridge the gap to find a way to get us to the facility, because I don't drive. My main squeeze would have to sit in that facility for 4 hours waiting on me to get finished with my infusion. What is he going to do for 4 hours? You know, think about it. If it was your family, what would you be doing? You'd be fighting for the cause as well. So think about if your family was. I have a change.org petition out there, and you can find it on change.org. But these are some of the pictures. I know they're very, very small because I didn't have enough room on my camera. But of the infusion center here being completely full. So were they going to put us in Kingwood when they were already full? You know, yeah, they're going to open up the second floor and move some of the short-term infusions to the second floor, but those seats were already taken. So what are they going to do with us? Make us wait? You know, how are they going to re-rotate? They won't answer us. They can't tell us what they're going to do. They won't tell us what they're going to do. One more thing. This is the petition. There's 647 people on it right now. Join us, if you will, please, everyone. Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
As a council, we're not supposed to respond, but I'm going to respond as a citizen of Cleveland. My wife is a patient at Texas Oncology, and everything these ladies saying is true. You know, I go in there, that place is packed, and people come all the way from Nacogdoches, you know, to get chemo and infusions. And so whatever I can do, you know, it's just not a good thing. But that's way above our pay grade. You know, that's a multi-million-dollar company. But what you all are saying is true, because I've been really perplexed myself, you know, now having to go to Kingwood, you know, twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. You know, it's not easy. So, but thank you for your comments tonight. Okay, next we'll have Mr. Ron Price, 1793 FM 1010. Mr. Price.
My name is Ron Price. Live at 1793 FM 1010. I come here about those curve signs with the flashers that have the motion detectors. That was my plans. I talked it over with the man, said it was needed to prevent wrecks, and somebody snuck in and took it with my design. I'll testify it to wherever. I ain't got much to say. I got it wrote down. If you want me to leave this with what I've said, but other than that, I don't like it. Somebody kicked a sleeping dragon, and this time I'm not a dragon. I would not said nothing. It's been a couple of months, and I never said anything. And I got an open sneer about it. So here's this. Leave it here. Thank you for listening, and I'm out.
Okay, yes, sir. Well, thank you, everyone. We encourage the comments to council. I mean, that's feedback for us, and we encourage that to, come before council. Okay, with that being said, we're going to have reports. Yes, sir.
I'll cut that a little bit short.
Oh, go ahead.
Hopefully I'll hear something from you people. If not, I'm going to go to DOT,
Yes, sir.
governor, somebody.
Yes, sir. We'll take a good look at it, sir. Okay, next we're going to move along to reports from members of council. I'm going to start on my right to your left will be Mr. Buckley.
Well, firework display was pretty great for the 4th of July. Everyone that came out got to see it. I thought it was great. My kids loved it. First time I get to see fireworks, so, thank you everyone that was able to get that put on, handle everything. And then thank you city staff, public works, first responders. Thank you for all y'all do.
Okay, Mr. Warren? I'm good. Okay. Mr. McWaters?
Just want to echo what my colleague said, and thank you, first responders and Public Works. We've had a busy month, had some rain events. Y'all have done an outstanding job of keeping Cleveland moving, so thank you very much for that. I just we know there's some community events coming up with back to school, and I'm looking forward to Gather Night that's going on at the Civic Center, so I encourage everybody to come out, and a lot of stuff to do before we get back to school.
Okay. Ms. David? Okay, Ms. Rachel Hall?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to thank everyone who is attending tonight, as well as everyone who is online watching, and echo what our mayor said earlier, to thank those who call in and ask questions and participate and, and help us help our community. Additionally, I did have the opportunity to go to some adult programming at the library with the Evening with the Authors. Okay, it's called Evening with the Authors, and it had a lovely free dinner and a lot of local authors living their dream and talking about their books that they have written. And I just encourage everyone, all ages, to go to the library. Of course, they're also doing a phenomenal job with all their summer programming while the kids are out of school. So kudos to the library staff, and thank you for thinking of everyone with your programming. And that's all I have.
Okay, Dr. Clark?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few flyers here for community resources. I know there are still parents out there that are looking for back-to-school vaccines and school supplies. This Wednesday at the Cleveland Civic Center from 9 to 12, the Liberty County Community Coalition will be having a community resource fair. It's a free event for any family that is in need. Also on July 25th, Saturday from 10 to 2, there's another event. It's Puzzle Pieces. It's a young lady who has a child that has a disability, and she's really coming out here from Katy to provide activities for students with disabilities. All students can come, or all children can attend with all abilities, but she'll have some educational resources. There'll be some business vendors there, food vendors. They're also giving out free haircuts, and then the first 100 families will receive a tote bag while the supplies last. So that's another great opportunity for parents to be able to access resources. And then just some reminders, Meet the Teacher for Cleveland ISD. Those dates are posted. It's between July 29th through the 31st, with school starting on August the 4th. And then Tarkington will have their Meet the Teachers August 6th through 10th, and then their first day of school is on August the 11th. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Clark, you kind of cut me short. I'm sorry. No, that's good. I was going to make those two announcements, but those are good events. They family friendly, and it just. What's the location of the puzzle pieces? Yeah, the puzzle pieces that'll be on July 25th at the Cleveland Civic Center at 10 a.m. And it's a very good cause, common support. Basically the 1 out of every 33 children that are born with autism spectrum disorder. And this program will provide some really needed information on this issue, with the autism. So I just like to encourage everyone to come out and let's support our schools. Cleveland schools and our neighbors out at Tarkenton also. And, I just want to take my hat off to our staff. You all are doing a good job. And just keep grinding every day. I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. Stay hydrated. The heat is to the point now where it is dangerous. So if you have employees that's working outside, let them work. But then again, though, when they get too hot, they need to come and cool off a little bit, because the heat strokes are very, very prevalent, in this type of heat and humidity. And I would also like to continue to invite people out to come to Coffee with the Mayor. It's a good way that myself and council and our department heads can communicate with you if you have issues with something that we're doing or something that we're not doing. We don't mind having our coattail pulled on something that we're not doing, or you might see a better way that we can do it. We have an open door policy, but I really want to encourage people to come out to Coffee with the Mayor. If you can't make it to Coffee with the Mayor, call City Hall. You can set up an appointment with myself, with our city manager, or with any council member. They'll gladly meet with you and provide you information. We're trying to do our best, but we cannot solve problems on social media. Come talk to me. I mean, we take this serious, and it's hard for us to go along with the social media because a lot of the people that be making the comments don't even live in Cleveland or vote in Cleveland or don't care to live in Cleveland. So if you're really serious, about our community, come and meet with me. Come and talk to us. I mean, we're open to it. I mean, we're all about Cleveland. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to improve. And you'll see later on in our meeting some of the good things that are happening that we have going on. But that's all I have for tonight. Okay? So with that being said, we're going to move on to our consent agenda. The items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine matters and will be approved by one motion of City Council. A council member may request that any item be removed from the consent agenda for a separate discussion and consideration. Okay, item number 2, we're going to table that, Mr. Tipton?
Yes, Mayor, if we can go ahead and table 2, we'll have it ready for the next council.
Okay. Okay. We've all had a chance to review the,
Make a motion to approve items 1 and 3 of consent agenda.
Second.
okay, I have a motion by Mr. Buckley, a second by Mr. McWaters. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Okay, now we'll move along, to our regular agenda, item number 4, that will be Timber Junction Use Policy. That'll be the one and only Miss Mary Cone. Ms. Cone.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm here tonight to present the Timber Junction Use Policy for your consideration and approval. As many of you are aware, Timber Junction was created as part of the library's Li-Fi grant project, which provided funding for the construction of the room, as well as the computers and technology used within the building. As a condition of the grant, the room is intended for specific purposes that support the community's educational, legal, financial, employment, medical, and other approved private needs. The policy before you establishes clear guidelines for the appropriate use of Timber Junction, ensuring that the room remains available for its intended purpose while providing fair and consistent access to the public. I respectfully request your approval of the Timber Junction use policy so that staff can continue managing the space in accordance with the grant requirements and provide this valuable resource to our community.
Make a motion to approve item 4.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Buckley, a second by Mr. Ward. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Ms. Cone. Okay, item number 5, accept offer for easement acquisition and authorize the city manager to execute an easement and right-of-way agreement with Mustang Express Pipeline LLC. That'll be you, Emilio.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Emilio
Yes, sir.
Lavario, Director of Community and Economic Development. So before you is a request to consider executing or authorizing our city manager to execute a easement and right-of-way agreement and accept an offer from Mustang Pipeline, Express Pipeline LLC. And so all that documentation has been reviewed by our city attorney office, and kind of just go through an overview of kind of where that is, provide some context. This is city-owned property located generally kind of along the, in the US 59 South, 69 South corridor, kind of east of the railroad right-of-way there. You can kind of see for reference where the loop 105 kind of access point is there off of 59, 69. So that's property we own. It's vacant. It's pretty heavily wooded. The pipeline's proposed easement is within an existing pipeline corridor, and so they're proposing to construct a new 42-inch natural gas pipeline in that corridor. I think it comes from Colorado County all the way down to Jefferson County is the route that they're going with, and that comes through Cleveland, obviously. So this is just part of their acquisition process. Again, it's within an existing pipeline corridor. And so happy to answer any questions. I think we have somebody from the pipeline company here to speak on it.
Is this the north side or the south side? Like if you zoomed out from the trees, like north or south of town?
So this is south of the Loop, or Veterans Memorial Parkway, now renamed, and east of 59.
So,
So this is, like I said, where the loop, where you exit the bypass and come to 69 South, is right in that area, but on the east side of the freeway.
It's between 1010 and 59, and then it borders the bypass.
north or south, the south of 319?
Well, south, yeah.
How far south? Is 319 like just cut off at the top? And did you say 42 inches? I'm sorry.
42-inch diameter, I would assume. But I think the nearest road is going to be the actual bypass itself in
Thank
terms
you.
of north and south.
Thank you.
Amelia, my only question is, being that we're being asked to accept an offer for this easement, is who would be financially responsible if there's any damage to the city property or
So-
drainage or any other infrastructure during construction?
So I want to say the language is pretty, I don't want to use boilerplate, but standard. And so I would kind of ask our legal counsel to weigh in on the kind of liability aspects of that. But all that to say, we still retain ownership of the property, but the pipeline is responsible for repair, maintenance, those types of routine items related to their infrastructure and any damages that their infrastructure may cause.
Okay.
That's correct. And they'll return it to the highest and best use of
Right.
how they found it.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Make a motion that we accept the offer for easement acquisition and authorize the city manager to, do you have a question?
I do have one other question. I'm sorry. In the contract, $10 seems like a very low amount of a pipeline, which in the history of pipelines, and we've had some community members and prior council members come up and express their concerns because of the danger of them. 42 inches, that's pretty large in comparison to the standard pipeline. That's why I asked, is that correct? It's larger than the standard?
I
Or-
don't know. And again, I think that's diameter. So, pipelines, I think, it's pretty conventional sizing. I'm not sure. Not a pipeline expert, but to answer your question, and I think I know where you're going, the actual offer amount is much more than that. So that might be something we can discuss with you in executive session if y'all wanted to table this until later.
Cite $10 in other good and valuable consideration. There is other consideration.
Yes.
But,
Just for the sake of competitiveness, that's not disclosed in this public session.
okay, but this item, if I'm not mistaken, is also not listed on our executive session.
Well, we can take any item, especially if it's related to real property,
Okay.
into executive session under the statute.
And I know, again, we have pipelines in the area. It's all very common if you're looking at growth and things like that. I think that my question, again, comes whenever you talk about environmental factors, concerns, people who have expressed concerns, leakage of the pipeline and all sorts of different things. So I would request that we discuss like what the actual amount is, if it's not $10, before we approve it, and understand the implications to our community and/or our natural resources before moving forward. So I would request it be moved to executive session. But you have a motion on the floor, so I don't know if,
I'll withdraw to discuss in executive.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, we just can table that and move that to executive session. That'll be number 5. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 6, Texas A&M Forest Service Agreement. Chief Anderson?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So we already have an agreement in place with the Texas Forestry Service, and what that provides is we have a building at the fire field over by the East Treatment Plant that they are utilizing for a dozer fire crew that they normally keep in the area. When there was all the fires out West Texas, we didn't have the dozer crews here because they were busy out west, but they're normally there. And the agreement that we had is going to expire, so it's time to renew it, and that's why it's coming back before you today. The agreement was reviewed by legal, and they did have a few minor changes, and the Forestry Service has accepted those changes and is fine with those changes and is looking forward to remaining in Cleveland. They were in Cleveland for a long period of time on 2025. They went to Liberty for a short time, and that really delayed our response in this area. And they ran the numbers, and they realized that majority of the fires that they were running were in the northern Liberty County, Montgomery County area. So they wanted to get back up here, and they've been back to Cleveland since, and we utilizing the building we have at the fire field.
I'll make a motion we approve the Texas A&M Forest Service Agreement.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Rachel Hall, a second by Mr. Buckley. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Okay, item number 7, authorize mayor and/or city manager to execute letter of support request for Liberty County Commissioner's Court regarding Liberty County Precinct 6 Constable's Office, expressing the city's support for continued law enforcement services and public safety partnerships.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I do want to point out, we do have some of the members of the Constable's Office here, and we appreciate them being here tonight. They can't always make it to our meetings, but we appreciate them being here. We were just concerned, it's budget season for us, just like it is for the county and most municipalities and different agencies. And the Precinct 6 Constable's Office has always been a huge supporter of the city, whether it's events that we have or the community has. There's a number of times where we'll arrive on an incident like a motor vehicle accident or something like that, and they'll be the first ones there, and they'll start helping us out and that kind of thing. And we just want to make sure that they continue to receive the support that they need so they can continue to help support the city of Cleveland and the surrounding communities as they've done for so many years.
Okay, any other comments or?
Make a motion that we authorize the mayor and city council to execute a letter of support for the Liddy County Commissioner's Court regarding Precinct 6.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. McWaters, a second by Mr. Warwick. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Anderson. Item 8, request a variance and adopted drainage and detention requirements for a proposed redevelopment approximately 1.29 acres located at 15 Washington Avenue, Emilio.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Basically, the developer and property owner for this property located at 515 South Washington, which is currently the site of the former Dairy Queen, is proposing to develop the property as a multi-user kind of retail development, a few different pad sites. So they have a few applications in with the city right now to do some utility improvements for water and sewer, install a common access drive, which would actually just be one point of access on South Washington and one point of access on San Jacinto Avenue, reducing all the multiple access points that the Dairy Queen actually had, which just improves, mobility and safety. Also, regional detention pond on the property to serve both lots, and subdividing the property into two lots to provide for two pad sites for future retail development. So they would demolish the Dairy Queen building. It's past its useful life, and then they would, again, kind of raise that site, grade it, do all the improvements, kind of get it shovel-ready, turnkey, for a developer to come and do some retail development on the two pad sites. So in all this permit review of these proposed and contemplated improvements, the city's consulting engineer, Blau Engineering, did not recognize the developer's engineer's methodology used to calculate the design detention pond sizing. And so in discussions back and forth with staff and the developers team, we felt that the variance route was probably the best kind of relief that the developer could seek in order to facilitate this development. So that way the variance would, authorize them to go ahead and move forward with this project and design under their methodology. And so, staff, and I will turn it over to Blake, and he's here to kind of answer on a more technical basis as far as engineering, hydrology goes, drainage, but kind of simplifying things. It's a historic kind of commercial district of the town, a lot of activity of yesterday and today, obviously. So the county, Liberty County drainage criteria that we follow right now has kind of application for countywide development, lots of rural development, things like that. It doesn't really take into context urban kind of historic development of some of the more distinguished communities in Liberty County. And so that's kind of one avenue that we're kind of in support of the variance. Also, this brownfield site, this redevelopment the site didn't have any detention on the property. And so this would at least provide some detention and mitigate some of that drainage. But I'm not an engineer. I'll let our engineer talk. And I believe the developer has an engineer, their engineering team here as well. So hopefully that makes some sense. And I have some of the exhibits.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Blake Behringer with Blau Engineering. So just a brief summary on the review. So as Emilio said, the developer's engineer did submit their construction plans and their drainage plans to us for review on y'all's behalf. And going through this, it was apparent that the methodology that was being used just didn't align with y'all's current rules and regs. Like Emilio said, which we adopted the Liberty County Drainage Manual as our guidelines for how to size detention. So, and like Emilio said, the Liberty County drainage criteria and the way they go about sizing detention ponds is more geared towards the county. At the time of adopting those rules, that was the best that the city had at its disposal until a future date when the city decides to come back and reevaluate and come up with their own detention requirements. To tie that back into this development. So the developer's engineer at this point in time did deviate from that Liberty County Drainage Manual. We did discuss with them at great lengths the methodology they used tried to incorporate some of the land use that was already there without detention to kind of grandfather in those impervious areas, and ultimately landed on, since we are deviating from your set rules and regs, that the variance process was going to be the best way of accomplishing what's going to best suit this. So to discuss some of the more technical things, and I'll try to bring this to a lesser technical description. The detention pond, using the methodology that the developer's engineer used, yields in a smaller detention pond footprint and storage as a result thereof. I don't have necessarily an issue with that. The guidelines set forth in your Liberty County would have yielded a much bigger footprint that would ultimately eat into the development area, which drastically changes the performance of the development, I would assume. So now some of the areas to bring this to a site-specific variance, I don't want to open the door for this to become a common theme, is, there's some angles to look at this, mainly giving the outfall being the most critical path item for most detention ponds. This particular development is outfalling into a pretty well-defined deep channel. All the downstream neighbors probably are not going to be impacted by the reduction in overall volume of this detention pond. So I don't have a lot of heartburn over this. I can turn it over to the actual design engineer, and they can talk about the design a little bit more to maybe provide y'all a little bit extra level of comfort in granting this variance.
Okay, that'll be fine.
Yep.
Okay, sir, could you please state your name and the company that you work for? Yes, sir.
Kevin Dew with ALJ Lindsay.
Okay.
So I appreciate Blake kind of running through that. So ultimately, what we're looking at for this site, when looking at the Liberty Code requirements, it's 0 to 200 acres for detention. That's kind of historically what you would see for larger areas, more subdivisions and everything like that would kind of impose those requirements. So I've kind of implemented this standard analysis across all different jurisdictions across Texas. It's an analysis that is within the Liberty County Code. It is the modified rational method. It's just a different interpretation of it, if you will. It's a specific program. So the reason we believe that it's viable for this site is due to a couple of items. One, as Blake mentioned, the existing creek that kind of runs partially on site. It's a very well-defined creek. To the existing impervious cover characteristic of the site. So we're increasing impervious cover, but not to the extent that we're taking a fully undeveloped site into a fully paved site. So there's still plenty of landscaping, green space on the site. I believe the impervious cover percentage ratio might be kind of in between the 70% range. There's also a couple of obstructions. There's a existing development that's right north of the pond you can see on the screen. They have utilities kind of running both on the east side and the west side of that pond, which is kind of really, not enabling us to expand the pond further like we would traditionally like. So ultimately, we're trying to put a few things into play here with having that detention pond, but also having larger diameter pipe, which is the candy cane looking symbol that you see. So that would also count as some detention. And then with the final development, when they come in, there's a restrictor pipe, a smaller diameter pipe for the outfall into the creek, which reduces the amount of water that's going into the creek at one time, which allows for the detention. So that would also allow water to back up into the parking lot as well during a major rain event, let's say a 100-year rainfall event. So kind of with all of that combined, that was what we were hoping to accomplish for this site, to keep it feasible for the developer in doing two developments and not just one.
with everything he just stated, I just want to make sure this is understood, like this is a very site-specific instance that this variance should be considered, and this is in no way, shape, or form saying that this methodology is going to be accepted across the board for every developer that ever comes through Cleveland. I also would like to take this moment just to encourage, the council and staff to consider looking into rewriting or writing our own drainage criteria so that we can prevent these types of scenarios and better write those rules and regs to fit the city as needed. So,
Blake, I do have a question.
yes, ma'am.
The larger ditch that you mentioned, if we're driving past the old Dairy Queen on the road towards the stoplight, do you understand what I'm talking about?
So you've got San Jacinto, and
Yeah.
then you've got, Washington. So which one
Yeah,
are you
San
on?
Jacinto.
All right,
Yeah.
San
Thanks for-
Jacinto.
thanks for the road names.
Driving north or south?
And landmarks, okay. So that road, are you talking about the ditch on the other side of that road by the railroad tracks? Is that the large ditch that you mentioned, that there's already a
So
large ditch there?
It does ultimately drain to that railroad ditch, yes, but the outfall on this particular site is going to outfall just to the, if you're to the south of the site, south of the Dairy Queen, but on the west side of San Jacinto. So not the railroad side of San Jacinto, the other side.
On the building side?
The building side.
Thanks.
And then
Okay.
it goes underneath, I'm going to consider a large culvert underneath San Jacinto Avenue, ultimately getting to that railroad ditch.
And haven't we had, as a city, issues with drainage in that specific part of town and a flooded road or a repaired road? Or was that just specific pipes that something happened to it?
Yeah, if my memory serves me well, I think that was a sanitary sewer line that we had a collapse and failure of. And when we talk about sewer issues during rain events, we're talking specifically about I&I, which is a separate topic altogether, likely. So to my knowledge, in regards to street flooding or localized flooding in this area, it's probably pretty minimal. And as well, they're providing detention that's not already there with a site that is partially already impervious. So I think they would be making some improvement to this area in that regards.
Would it be correct for me to understand that, you said site-specific, whenever we start granting variances, because we're using county guidelines instead of local guidelines that we don't have in place, so we use the next best, right, at the county level. We have not granted a variance like this previously, and when we want development to come in, we want businesses to come in and to invest into our community and do the best work, right? That helps us help them, make their money. But this is a first time, and so this could potentially be like a precedent. Is that accurate with this specific type of variance?
In my time here, we have adopted the Liberty County Drainage Manual to be our drainage manual for any development within Liberty County. And to my knowledge, this is the first time we have granted a detention pond variance
Or it's been
underneath
requested?
those rules, yes.
Okay, all right.
And like I said, I would like to get to a point where the city can go through and create their own drainage manual where we can narrow down the methodology to better suit these smaller commercial tracts. Like it was previously stated, Liberty County's drainage methodology is used for 0 to 200 acres. I mean, we're talking about a methodology used for much bigger sites than this one. It does not suit well for these sites. It usually yields in a much bigger pond, often impacting the performa and the usable space that the developer can put buildings or parking lots on.
And Blyle Engineering doesn't accept the methodology that the other company used as a practice that your company uses. Was that the overview?
I'm not saying that necessarily. It's a methodology that I have not used. We use similar methodologies that vary from the Liberty County Drainage Manual, but every jurisdiction's got a little bit of a twist on the methodology they like to use. It's just different variations. But from an engineering application, it is a methodology that yields a detention volume that, is suitable for this site in particular, given certain other parameters around this particular site.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, and I think you make note of a couple of things that we are talking site-specific. I don't think I think as a council, continuing to be disciplined as variances and opportunities, and I think more opportunities are going to come our way. That we look at the different possibilities because, so there is a roughly, I think I read 40% of the current site is already in concrete. And y'all would be adding detention to it. So yeah, I get it. Well, before I make any motion, any other comment?
It's called growth.
Yep. I make a motion that we.
Just real quick, thank you for really taking the time to clarify that. I guess my question for the non-educated person in this particular topic, I just want to hear out loud that in doing this, it will not create any flooding to any of the areas around it. Because I'm sitting here literally trying to visualize this. We have that little ditch, we have the railroad tracks, and then we have that piece of parcel, and then we have those apartments. And then I recall the gentleman saying that they're gonna have that candy cane, sorry for my use of that same word, where it's gonna drain a little bit slower, but it's gonna fill that ditch or body of water, as I wanna call it. I just wanna make sure that we say out loud that in doing this is not gonna cause any potential flooding for those individuals that live in those apartments.
Correct.
Okay.
I do want to throw out that caveat that detention ponds typically statewide are required to detain water and not release at a greater rate
Okay.
for multiple storm events, right? And Liberty County in particular, and I don't remember the exact storm events, but at least the lesser storm events. But all detention is usually allocated up to the 100-year storm event.
Got it.
So, and the methodology they used shows that they are retaining that flow up to that 100-year storm event. Anything above and beyond that is a different story, but that's, a different conversation for a different day. But within a reasonable storm event, yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to hear it out loud.
Yeah, this is not going to worsen the situation at all. And that meets all state guidelines as well as yours.
So I make a motion to request for variance to the adopted drainage and detention requirements for the proposed redeveloper of approximately 1.29 acres located at 515 South Washington Avenue.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Clark.
I'll say, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I have a second by Mr. Warwick. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 6-1. Okay, where we at? Number 9, discussion and possible direction to staff regarding regulatory strategies related to the location and operation of vape and tobacco-related retail establishments within the corporate limits of Cleveland. Emilio.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So, as you'll recall, we discussed this topic a few months ago at the March meeting. And so I'll just kind of go over and revisit some of the points that we presented related to this topic at just a high level. And then if y'all want to have discussions amongst yourself and provide direction, we're open to that. So currently, and this number has, I think, gone up to 9 now with the issuance of another certificate of occupancy, but that is of local operators, retailers that are really more dedicated to the sale and distribution of these products related to vapes or tobacco products. So That's not counting, doesn't take into account, other types of retailers, gas stations, grocery stores that may offer these products for sale in kind of the macro view. So in terms of some options available to the city in its toolbox of kind of regulatory tools, you have zoning and, kind of land use regulation. You also have kind of business license, business activity kind of regulation. And so I'll kind of walk through those. Well, rather, probably getting ahead of myself, more so kind of that distancing requirements that we have for uses like alcohol that engage in the sale and consumption of alcohol. So I'll just kind of walk through those. But yeah, zoning is going to be definitely more district-based. It's going to definitely hinge on our ability, as cities to kind of exercise the police power in terms of health, safety, and welfare. It's going to depend on the definitions that are, within our land zoning ordinance. So we're going to really have to look at those and craft those carefully in the context of zoning. It could be, a better approach in terms if you want to be, more restrictive, locating where and why where, in terms of compatibility between land uses, options. When you talk about zoning, you talk about, the kind of participatory planning process, public hearings, transparency, things like that, and, community engagement to some extent. So zoning is also discretionary. So if we talk about some kind of special use kind of permit situation, that's basically the whole process is facilitated like a zone change where you'll get a recommendation from Planning and Zoning Commission, and you'll get to take final action on whether to accept that recommendation and actually grant special use permit or there's some other type of zoning provision. You can't get a use variance, so they can't appeal your decision to the Board of Adjustments and try to get a variance like we just went through variance process. They can't, there's no avenue for that for use specific, use related kind of regulations in the zoning. Option 2 would be the more activity-based thing that I was referencing. We can require specific use licensing after meeting certain conditions. And so we can assess annual fees, collect fees, renew applications, licenses. So the discretion part of that is removed, and so it's more administrative based. We're just kind of checking boxes to see does it meet certain provisions, things like that. And so kind of with zoning elements, like I was mentioning, we definitely want to look into the definitions and classifications in our ordinance. These are some of the vernacular that exist in communities across the state: smoke shops, tobacco shops, vape shops, cannabis-related businesses, tobacco, e-cigarette, CHP, non-traditional smoking-related retail stores, and smoke rooms and lounges. And so another thing to consider, and similar to what we'll talk about, like I was talking about with alcohol, is distancing-related requirements from sensitive uses, churches, schools, hospital, parks, libraries, community centers, daycares, and residential dwellings as well. Something else that could be on the table is distancing from other vape shops. So basically a buffer from other vape shops, and that kind of eliminates real estate options for where vape shops and tobacco stores could open up if they're not already grandfathered. And so these distances range from across the state in other communities, 300 all the way to 1.5 miles. So there is definitely some range in that. Again, I kind of covered this ground already, but more on that process, peeling back that onion. There'd be public noticing requirements, newspaper posting the public hearing notice here at City Hall, mailing notices to property owners within a certain affected radius, public hearings, meeting at P&Z, a public hearing there, and then the public hearing here and that ability to kind of grant that on discretionary grounds. Ultimately, if you feel like it's appropriate or inappropriate in terms of land use. If you wanted some flexibility, we could look at something that is permitted with conditions and again, I was kind of prescribing if we could put that in, in terms of distances or between sensitive uses or distances between other vape shops, there's some optionality there. Other aspects to consider to tack on to this is limiting hours of operations, kind of lighting. A lot of those stores have, kind of very animated, spectacular type of lighting. Establishing, definitely providing provisions in our non-conforming clauses to address this use specifically, and prohibiting outdoor sales and displays for this type of use. So from a kind of regional macro perspective, there's other communities that either have or haven't taken a stance on this regulatory-wise. Just kind of using our local benchmark cities, Dayton really doesn't really regulate this. They have a land use classification, but it's mainly combating, synthetic cannabis and stuff that's already prohibited by lots of laws. Liberty they have zoning, so they don't really regulate it from a zoning standpoint. Livingston, again, no zoning. Mount Bellevue has zoning, no apparent kind of use classification or prohibition on this type of use. They do have a standalone ordinance that regulates herbal incense and illicit synthetic substances. Again, a lot of cities have something similar. Again, Conroe, no zoning, similar to Dayton in that it bans the sale of illegal smoking products, and the same goes for Willis as well. But that's kind of the overview of options in terms of what's in our toolbox. I don't know if there was any other questions or concerns.
I do have a question. There are several options that you put there, and some definitely seem like it would be a lengthier process, right? It would take some time, public hearings and other things, as mentioned. So is there anything we can do more immediately? Like, for example, the distance from the sensitive uses, like from the churches and schools and parks, that point that you made, is there something to do more immediately to put something in place while you, or as council or as a city, we work on a more comprehensive plan that may or may not require zoning meetings and public hearing meetings, et cetera?
Outside of adopting like a standalone ordinance, similar to like our alcohol ordinance, I don't know that there is any way to fast track, prohibition of regulating or. I don't know if Olson & Olson may have some thoughts on this.
Is that an option for our city to be able to add vape shops to the alcohol type ordinance that we currently have? Can it be added as we work on a more comprehensive, detailed, transparent process of, with all the options that you had with lighting and operation hours and all those things? Is there a way, sir?
I think, first of all, you've outlined it pretty well in terms of special use and specific use. The problem you have is comparing it to alcohol. There's specific regulations in Texas law that allows us to have that distance requirement in place. When you look at vape shops, tobacco sales, places like that, it's a mixture. For example, the permit for sale of tobacco is in the Comptroller of Public Accounts, because there's a tax on the sale, and the permitting process is all through the Comptroller of Public Accounts. It's not clear that we can weave our way through there and find a way that we can do that, because the issue is we cannot adopt an ordinance that's inconsistent with state law. And so that's sort of the thing you're trying to weave your way through. In general, zoning, although obnoxious in terms of time and all the other steps, gives you the due process elements, hearing, opportunity to be heard, and establishing the rules. It's hard to get it quick and easy. They don't want it quick and easy. They want a process, and everybody gets due process in establishing the rules.
Okay, but there were other cities, though not regionally, there are other cities within the state that have put a distance requirement. They have adopted the ordinances, those other
Right.
Yeah, I would say probably more as a kind of like their criteria or, kind of criteria for considering, whether, to grant the special use permit in those circumstances.
Okay, what about the hours of operation? Is there
Certainly, you can go back and ignore all the other laws and say, go back to basic police powers, almost to the nuisance law, and say, these are the things that we find that are close to nuisance. Hours of operation, noise, light, parking, things that put externalities, dump problems on other people by the fact that they're there, and limit those or restrict those. Those are some of the things you can do, but you're going to run up against the fact that there's kind of a line there between nuisance law and the more organized police power regulations under zoning. The safe harbor is zoning, special use, specific use. The rest of it, a lot of these are smaller towns, maybe that no one's challenged it. In fact, they've enacted it, and we always have to, and I'll stop right there before the executive session talking to you as your attorney about risk and so forth, but you always have to consider that as an issue. Have they litigated it? And the question is balancing the cost of that possible litigation and having a more certain way. The legislature seems to defer, for example, recently we had an issue with food trucks and regulation of food trucks, and the legislature deferred to the cities on that they can regulate through their zoning power and location power. So even though the state said the state can't regulate specifically on these issues, we said, but you can use zoning. So there's a recognition, at least at the legislature right now, that zoning is an appropriate way to deal with land use questions.
So the process because there's two processes. We can go through zoning, or we can go through that business regulation, but that's where, if we go through zoning, that's when we have public hearings and a longer process, and we can develop that language for the ordinance and does it go to a vote? Do the voters vote?
And you can tailor it if you have a specific use. I'm not sure I looked real quickly at your ordinance. There's a process in some of our cities that have a specific use process where you go exactly, it's like a rezoning of the property. You go to that property and say, in this place, this time, in this neighborhood, these are the rules that we have to put into place to protect the people around it from the use. That's why it gets closer to the good way to use the nuisance law approach, tailoring it to each situation as opposed to none at all, or 1,000 feet. And I'm a little sensitive on alcohol because the Texas legislature has been real strong on giving the Alcohol Beverage Commission rules and controls over that. And so we're at a sensitive time with the legislature on trying to enact our own regulations. So just caution.
Okay. So we do have the option to start a process through the zoning process and then present it to our community and allow them to vote for or against that ordinance being added. By the end of it, is that correct, that it goes to a
You would amend
vote?
the zoning ordinance. There's two steps. One, you'd amend the zoning ordinance to put in whatever regulatory system you want to have, adding a specific use process. Then for each site, you could either do by what are called special use restrictions, which are sort of general. They can do it as of right, which means if they meet all these rules, they can do it. Or we say, in this particular site, we're going to rezone it to a specific use and say, these are the restrictions we're going to put in place, and we'll actually record them in the deed records of the county and bind it to, it's pretty strong.
Okay.
So you have layers and steps that you can pursue.
I guess my last more simplified question is, if we do that zoning and all of those wonderful steps that you explained, and that includes a public hearing section, like when the community can come up with the public hearing.
Right.
And then after the public hearing, it would just be one of those situations, we have a public hearing, and then we, as a council, could pass the ordinance. We don't have to put it on a ballot. Is that correct?
No, I assume
Okay.
that you adopt a zoning ordinance.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah, I think you probably have a planning and zoning commission, right?
Right.
And so you would go there first. You get there'll be 2 or 3 bites at the apple in terms of finding out what's going on and what's appropriate.
Okay, great. And so that process can get started, and then the community can provide their feedback, and then we could move forward. That is an option that we have to start it with the zoning board.
Yes, since we would be amending the zoning text, we would treat it basically like a zoning change, and we would have all the public notice, public hearings.
Notice in the paper.
Council, at the P and Z and the council level.
Okay.
would the zoning just be certain areas, or would it be the whole city?
So, again, like, I think like, our council was saying, either we define kind of in our zoning ordinance, like, the kind of conditions for where, when, what districts and where it would be appropriate, or we create a specific use permit process where it's basically a request to do that specific use on that specific property.
But you could exclude whole areas of the city that couldn't do it at all, and then just pick it down to whatever the high-density commercial or whatever the,
Yes.
yeah.
So-
No.
Currently in our ordinance, we have specific use permits. I think it's really defined as special use permits, but in certain districts. So like, if you wanted to do a RV park, you can own, that option is only available in the general commercial zoning district.
Right.
It's not available in all the residential districts or
Right.
mixed use districts.
You narrow it down pretty quickly, and then
Right.
within that area, you make adjustments.
Right, correct. So I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but that would likely be something that we'd look at to implement within the general commercial zoning district.
And
which-
the language of that ordinance potentially could include, without violating state law, things about distance from a church or a school?
Right. it
Okay.
could. Part of the criteria.
Do you need direction from us today?
I think that's what staff was looking, that's why the progress hasn't been made prior to now, is because there was no consensus.
We're gonna go through with this, we need to go ahead and do it. But we can't do it on social media.
Correct.
You need to have people that come in and on these hearings and we work for the taxpayers, whether the taxpayers want. I have no use for a vape shop. That's just my opinion personally. And now I heard I don't know if it's true or not, but do we have a vape shop here that's open from 10 a.m. to 5 a.m.? 10 p.m. to 5 a.m.? Okay, well, in the interim, we as a city, we should just let them know that if anything illegal is going on as far as selling paraphernalia to minors, that they'll be prosecuted to the full extent of the law in the interim, before we can have these public hearings, because that's going to take a minute, before we can come up with something. But for now, just let them know that, if you got any hanky-panky going on and we catch you, it's going to be consequences.
Yeah, to the law enforcement piece, I think we have a number of agencies locally that already are engaged with the Department of Public Safety to do some of those investigations and spot checking.
Yeah, I'm sure that through Liberty County that we have, some task force that work on stuff like that, but in the interim.
One of the services provided by the constable's office.
Okay, well, great.
They raise their hand.
If
But,
we were to limit the hours, the operation that you have on there, would that be able to go to effect with the ones that are currently open?
So I think that's where we get into the non-conforming use provisions of our ordinance and basically grandfathering. So those current operators would be considered legally non-conforming, but then I think the text amendment that we would seek would be twofold: to create the process for new vape shops, but then to also pretty prescriptively put in provisions within our non-conforming use section of the zoning ordinance to really and strictly define the provisions for how those uses are going to be treated once that the use vacates or the ownership changes, things like that.
Okay, now, will the convenience stores, will they be under the same umbrella?
No, because those.
But they sell the vape products though,
Well,
right?
probably, yes. Well, we probably have to get into the definitions and look at those closely. And so really we have to consider what is the primary use of the property. So is the primary use a C-store that sells gas and a portion of their sales are dedicated to this? but much.
Oh, okay, I
right.
see. Yeah.
So I think that's where we can get into the nuances also with,
Yeah.
and regulate somewhat within.
Kind of like the alcohol
definitions.
in the restaurants, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Right.
Meals,
Yes.
food and alcohol.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that, but we can give direction to go ahead, and get the ball rolling on this, but I would like to see some input from concerned parents. And we cannot do this on Facebook. Got to show up, come talk to me, Lee, or the council. I mean, I want it to be a whole community effort, if we're going to do this. So, and by that way, if we all on the same page, we can get it done.
Yes, sir.
I do have a couple of questions. And Mr. Mayor, I'm going to respectfully disagree. Our community is on Facebook. We use Facebook as a tool for communication. Many people might be at work at certain hours. They might not have the transportation to make it to City Hall. They are watching online. They're reaching out, phone calls, whatever it is. And I'm just, social media is it's a tool. We might not always like what they say, but they have the right to say it, and they have the right to complain about it and bring it to our attention, and for us to do something about it. So, but with that, I'm going to ask a question. Let me understand what I think that you said, and I think this is going back to Julius's question. Like the hours of operation and things. Everything that is currently in place and open right now would be grandfathered. There's nothing we can do about where they're located, or their hours of operations, or what they potentially may or may not be selling to minors, because again, some of them are, thank you, Precinct 6. So with that, can we put some sort of moratorium, is that the correct word? That from today until we finish this lengthy zoning potential community feedback process, that is not going to be overnight, right? That no more are issued a permit between now and whenever we get the whole ordinance in place?
There is a legal process for establishing a moratorium on land use and development applications. So we don't have those. That wasn't kind of something that we considered, so we don't have those answers for you right now. Other than, I think there's something that exists within the state statutes, the local government code, to facilitate that. I don't know if zoning type things are a part of that. Usually more it's related to building permits and other types of development applications, but we'll look to see what options are. It would probably have to have a special meeting or something. It would involve council action.
Okay.
It would have to impose any type of moratorium. There might be public noticing and public hearing requirements for that as well.
Okay, and so that's the potential, looking into how we can press pause on
They're
issuing
limited
any
to
more permits.
120 days normally.
Okay, because anyone that opens until we have something on the books, or any other locations potentially that open, they would all be grandfathered, and they'd be able to operate when and where and how they wanted to.
It would depend on how they're authorized right now, what their certificate of occupancy says. And I have no idea how that operates right now.
Okay, all right. All right.
Right, yeah.
But that's later information to come. Okay.
That's the measure, is what have we permitted to this point, identifying what it is. That would be part of investigation and recommendation to council.
Yeah, right now it's really just general retail.
Okay, well, now, the thing about the social media, where I'm coming from, is a lot of the people that be on these chat groups don't live in Cleveland. So I'm reaching out to the residents of Cleveland, to the parents in Cleveland, the concerned parents that's really concerned about doing something for the community. Come and talk to the council. We cannot get nothing done on social media because a lot of it, number one, half the people don't even live in Cleveland and can care less, and they use that for entertainment, but we taking this serious. These are our kids. I got grandkids here, okay? And we trying to do what's best for the kids. So my thing to the people that's watching, when we have this public hearing, come and tell us what you support and what you don't support, and give us some ideas. I mean, it's all about transparency, and that's what I'm trying to do, being in the position that I'm in. I want to show transparency, but I want to hear from the parents. Give us some direction. So let's just get the ball rolling on this, and if everyone else is in agreement, let's go ahead and schedule some public hearings and whatever we have to do to, you know, if we're gonna get it done, because we've been talking about this now for a couple of years. So if we're gonna do it, let's go ahead on and do it. You know, and the deal about the shop being open from 10 at night to 5 in the morning, now, that's not good. So, but I'm sure the Liberty County is keeping an eye on that. But our main goal is, you know, quality of life in our community, making our community safe, quality of life safe for our children here in Cleveland. That's what we're all about. So let's go ahead and get the ball rolling, you know.
And we will also, how soon will we get feedback on the pressing the pause button on the permits?
We'll consult with Olson & Olson after, tomorrow, starting tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
I was just going to summarize for council, the direction from y'all for staff would be possibly for the immediate, would be seeking Olson & Olson for a moratorium. Once we get an information on that, we could pass that along to y'all, and if we need to do a special council meeting to do that, we can do that. Council would be directing staff to look forward and move forward with the zoning, potential zoning ordinance.
Amendments.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're looking at.
Okay? Any other questions? Everybody good? Okay, we got direction, so let's go on to, where we at? I got me to turn around. Item number 10, authorize the city manager to execute infrastructure maintenance agreement with McKinley Development for Section 9 of Grand Oaks Reserve Public Improvements. Come on, Emilio. You might well just stay up there.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this agreement would allow the city to facilitate kind of the remaining process in terms of getting this section of Grand Oaks, Section 9, Phase 3, moving in terms of acceptance of infrastructure and final plat. You know, typically our subdivision ordinance has a bonding requirement, and so for maintenance for a period of 1 year. And so we've crafted this agreement to satisfy that requirement for maintenance bonds. It's a little outside of that, but we've consulted with Tommy, and it does achieve the same spirit and intent of that part of our subdivision ordinance, just in a different vehicle. So this would be allow a 2-year kind of maintenance period, warranty period in which McKinley Development would assist the city with repairing and maintaining the infrastructure within this section of Grand Oaks in that maintenance kind of cycle before it really becomes the city's burden at that point. So happy to answer any more questions, and obviously backed up by Public Works and Engineering. There's more technical questions about our infrastructure and assets that we would be accepting at the expiration of the agreement term.
Make a motion to approve item 10.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Buckley, a second by Mr. Mac Waters. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Okay, item 11. Excuse me. Approval of amendment to the grant administration service contract with public management for GLO contract number 24-067-019-E206 to include additional fees associated with easement acquisition required for drainage improvement project, and authorize the city manager to execute all related documents. Ms. Pam Harrison?
Yes, sir.
Finance
Good evening, Mayor and
Director.
Council.
Yes,
This
ma'am.
is a request that was submitted by Public Management. We've been working on the drainage project in Tanglewood for quite some time. The city has attempted to accomplish the easement acquisition without success, so we have, Public Management has agreed to take the reins on it, and they will need an additional $25,000 which will be a local match. The grant will not cover that to obtain the easement acquisitions because we cannot move forward. We're needing this because we cannot move forward with the project without the easement acquisitions. Have any
Make a
questions?
motion, we approve the amendment for the grant administrative service and public management for contract to include additional fees associated with the easement acquisition.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. McWaters, second by Mr. Buckley. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Okay, item 12. Discussion and update regarding GLO mitigation grant contract number 24-065-111-E924. Mr. Tipton.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So on this one, we're going to have to make a decision. So originally, when we did this, it's for the lift station and placing generators at those lift stations. The total grant amount was $1,498,300. With that comes grant administration fees, engineering fees, and construction. 15% of the engineering fee was based off of the total amount of construction, which was $1,237,074.76. We've recently found out that once the engineering firm did 5 lift stations, they submitted for those stations, but the construction bid came in lower, so there's a remaining $304,132.08 left out of that 1.2 figure. What came out of that is they overbilled the GLO by the $17,785. With that being said, the city now is in obligation to pay that $17,785. And again, it was originally a no match. The engineering firm could, based off the contract, lower what they call the cap, which their cap was $185,561.20. They have since, I would say, refusal is probably not the right word to use. They're not moving that portion. So essentially with the way the GLO grant works, is now the city basically is on the hook for the $17,785. So we went back and forth with the grant administration, the engineering firm, and staff. And to add 2 more lift stations to this, the engineering firm is requesting $55,000 to utilize the remaining $304,000 for 2 additional lift stations. So in essence, the city has to pay $17,785 and we get nothing more than what we have, or we can move forward, pay $55,000, get 2 more generators and lift stations, and hopefully use the remainder of the $304,000 of grant money. I know that's a lot of numbers and it's kind of hard to understand, but I'll take any questions if you have any.
Why did you use the word hopefully?
Going with the grant, it's a hopefully, because it's always an estimate. So my understanding was when this originally was bid out, they estimated they were going to utilize the full amount, the 1.2. But my understanding was generators then came in a lot lower than what they originally estimated. So that is what left the $304,000 gap, because they thought the 5 lift stations would take the full amount of 1.2. Once they went out for contract, bid and all that and came back, the generators were a lot less than what they actually estimated. So it's not an exact science. It was, again, an estimation. But we want to make sure in the contract that we have not signed yet, plus we have to wait for GLO to approve the 2 additional generators. We're going to try to put in there, obviously, something to protect the city and also in the future, that they will have to reduce their cap if they don't utilize the full amount of the grants in the future.
Did you say that this grant was at one point a non-matching grant? It was 100% grant?
Correct.
And then now, so it was 100% grant that we weren't supposed to pay, and then because things came in lower with what has been completed, we now owe them $17,000 that we have to pay, right? We owe them, they're not gonna let it go. And they're like, but there's also some grant money left over, but if you want to have access to that non-matching grant of $304,000, you have to give us another $55,000?
The GLO is not requesting
Yes, the
the
engineer
additional
firm.
55.
The engineering firm says to do
is.
2 more.
So if we
Engineering
don't,
fee.
yes,
Yeah,
if we do not utilize the 300,000, then we have to pay 17,000 back to GLO because we've already exceeded our engineering cap, which is based on the construction cost.
And I could go further, and trust me, we talked about going to can we use somebody else, another engineer? And we were kind of advised by the grant administrator that would cause more problems than just seeking additional from
Okay.
our current.
So we can't use grant funding to pay them? Like of the 304, so we have to
There's a
use
cap.
that?
No,
Okay.
the 304 is restricted to construction only.
Okay, and you're saying hopefully, when you said hopefully, that's because it might not cost us that much for 2 additional?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Is the scope of work for the 2 additional similar to the first 5?
Yeah, the estimates they've given us, I believe it was, diesel was almost about $120,000, $30,000, $40,000 per site, so which would fulfill that 300.
But Lee, I think, we kind of know what the score is now, so that's not going to happen again, so.
I'll keep my comments with,
Well, I mean, you just.
with a particular firm for
Yes, sir.
myself.
Yes,
but,
sir. Yeah, we-
I will say we're not too happy with it.
Let me ask it one different way. We need the 2 additional generators would be of a benefit for the city of Cleveland.
I think somebody over there yelled yes, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did
Yeah.
identify 2 sites fairly quickly. I mean, we do have several lift stations that don't have generators, which, we're kind of setting the box of, and that's why we wanted to bring this to y'all to understand that, it wasn't nothing we did as staff. Again, I think the firm we're discussing could have worked with us based off of that contract, which, but we do think to be able to utilize the remainder of that money, we think, the 55 would be potentially more beneficial.
Well, the net difference we'll be paying is roughly 38.
Yeah.
So the net difference is 38 because you're going to pay 17 regardless and get nothing.
Correct.
Spend 55 and
We'll get
potentially get the 2
more.
additional generators.
Yeah, 2 generators.
Oh, it's not an additional, it's
No.
not 17 plus 55, it's
one
a
or the
total
other.
of 55?
Total of 55 and total of
It's
17.
17
we-
and get nothing, or 55 and get 2 additional generators.
Yeah, we have 17 right now today. If y'all decide, if y'all decide to not do anything further, then we still have to pay that. If we want to try to utilize the remainder of the 304, they're wanting an extra 55,000.
But the 17 goes away.
The
So it's
17
a-
goes away,
It's
correct.
a net difference to the city of 38.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion that we approve $55,000 from the general fund to continue this GLO mitigation grant for the lift station?
Second.
Yeah. Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Hall. Go ahead, Lee.
We'll go further with this because like I said, right now, we're still waiting on the contract, plus we're waiting on GLO. So GLO actually has to approve us adding the 2 lift stations to that. But if they do, then we'll see moving forward with y'all's recommendation.
So should I reword it and say that I make a motion to use up to $55,000, depending on if they allow it? Or if we're only paying 17 or 55, right?
Yeah, 55 is the total cost. I'm not going above that anyway. But what I'm saying is even before the contract, GLO has to even approve it first. So I want to make sure y'all are aware that y'all can approve it today, but if GLO denies it, we can't move forward.
Okay.
So is that a possibility, or we're pretty confident that this is just standard procedure?
I'll refer, Blake, do you have any insight on that as far as amendments for the 2 generators?
But with the 2 sites that we have already identified, we've already gone through that process that we know that those could possibly be approved. And if they can't be approved, do we have a backup plan? Because we already have established that we need them. We
Yeah,
just may have to choose, I'm sorry, Ms. Harrison, we may have to just choose another site. So are we already going through some type of audit to make sure that the sites that we have chosen?
Yes, so we have tasked the engineer on this grant.
Yes, sir.
We tasked them if these two do not meet the criteria for any given reason, whether they be in the floodplain or wetlands come into play or something like that, they need to identify from the city, pick a separate location and go through that procedure again until we find some that do fit. But myself and Public Works and city staff have gone through and looked at these two locations, and we feel like these two locations will fit the criteria and should be approved by GLO.
And then the 55,000 minus 17, which equals 38, has that money have already been identified and allocated? It's just kind of waiting there for this process to move forward? Or is this something that we're gonna have to do a budget amendment to create this amount of money?
So I do want to provide some level of clarity when we're doing the math between the 55 and the 17. The 17 comes from a remaining balance that goes above and beyond the percentage that the GLO will cover for your engineering contract, because the way GLO dictates how much the engineering can make is based on a percent, like the cap, like Lee was talking about. The portion that was invoiced by the engineer surpasses that 15% cap based on the construction cost of what's being constructed today by the already prior approved. The 55,000, the 17 goes away when we utilize the remaining 300,000 for the construction, because that 17 is built into that ultimate number. So the cost is still going to be 55 in addition, if I'm not mistaken, beyond the GLO covered contract. The 17 just then gets covered up by GLO. GLO
just
pays
gets
it out of the
absorbed.
grant. So
It
55
just
is
gets
added.
absorbed. No one ever exchanges 17,000. It's all about the 55 that we're trying to allocate right
Correct.
now in this motion.
Yes, so
Yes,
the
sir.
55 will in fact come from the city outside of the grant funds. It won't be 38,000 cut from the city's coffers. It'll be 55,000. The 17 that's due and payable today is just because GLO won't cover what's already been invoiced by the engineering company at this time. It's surpassed that cap rate. So I'm sorry, can you restate the other question since I went down that rabbit trail?
No, I think you kind of resolved it, because we kept having this conversation about as if there was two amounts, that Ms. Harrison would be writing a check for two amounts. But what we're learning is
No.
that we're gonna absorb the 17,000 in this grant. That money doesn't really exist per se.
Right.
For the sake of this point I'm trying to make. It's really just about the 55.
Correct.
That will be a result of us gaining two possible generators in these two identified locations.
Correct.
And so I guess my question is, because it appears that this particular vendor, I guess what I'm trying to wrap my mind around is that when we made this agreement for these particular generators, do we lack the protection of saying if this is what we said it was gonna cost and that's what we have to pay? I'm confused as to the amount of time that it took for this project to close out, that it kept going up in the price, and we didn't have a conversation to say, whoa, that's not what we agreed to. Because it's almost like and I don't know, I wasn't in those negotiations, and it may not even be a question you can answer, but I'm sitting here as a common citizen thinking that at some point could we have pulled the plug and not be in this situation? Or is that just the way the process is, and you little junior council person, you're just learning the steps?
I think it's a little bit of both. Try to be like Lee, be careful with my words, but not to throw anybody under the bus, but what I did realize in sitting in on these meetings, the grants are designed to where the administration and engineering is a percentage of construction. So with the construction coming under, we do have 5 lift stations, but there's also Fire Station 1, so there's a total of 6 that was bid out. They estimated that we would utilize the full grant, and because we did not, and they wrote their contract based on what the full allocation or the allowance was for the engineering. for 6 locations. Well, when the bids came in under, they exceeded the cap with a contract that had already been executed with the city. So now we have to utilize that 3. The question that I asked was, had we bid out 8 in the beginning, would we be in this situation? And the answer was no. I see that's what
Okay,
you.
so you just
So had we did
answered yes.
8, if we had 8 in the beginning, we would not owe them any extra money.
Okay, thank you, because that's why I'm like, how did we, okay, thank you.
Essentially, the perfect world is we had $102 million. If they would have used $102 million, it would have stayed a no matching fund. That's not what happened.
And then you asked about a budget amendment. We can either do it as a budget amendment, the 55,000, or we can build it into the 27 budget, because I believe this grant expires early next year, first quarter next year. I think. Okay, so room for extension. So if we build it into the 27 budget year, and for whatever reason the project isn't complete, it'll just be a capital carryover. But it'll come, we can utilize fund balance. It'll come out of water and sewer.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any other questions? No vote on this? Okay. Okay, Lee, you okay with that? Okay. Okay, we'll move on.
Did we vote?
Just an update.
Oh, okay, so whenever I made the motion for the 55,000 you don't need that because you're just gonna put it in next year's budget?
If that's the wishes or direction of council, well, we can move forward with,
Yeah,
the
it was really
$55,000
to
route.
see if you guys wanted to move forward with the 2 additional generators, or just pay the 17 and be done with it.
So you didn't need the 17 today or the 55 today, you just needed to know if we wanted to go the 17 or 55 route, and you're gonna do it
Correct.
fiscal year October?
Yes.
Oh, okay, well then, I guess no motion.
Okay. Well, that's, but it's good that we doing all this and, you know, more or less dotting every I, crossing every T, because, you know, here in Cleveland, you know, we've never had these kind of resources to do the stuff that we're doing now. So, you know, I'm asking the council to, you know, let's really be, you know, frugal and pay attention to this, and, you know, make sure that we can spend this money, you know, the right way, you know, and get what we need out of this money. Okay, we're gonna move on to item 13. Now, are we gonna do all these at once, or?
I think you probably do them by item by item. I don't know.
Okay.
What's your practice?
Well, this is something that's new. Last month, council, they approved an amendment to the purchasing policy. We have a policy in place that any invoice that's over $50,000 has to come back to council for approval for payment. With the restrictions that are put in place by TDA and GLO, we have 3 to 5 days to pay out any money that is received. So this allows us to approve the budget as a whole for the grant. That way, and any invoices over 50,000 can be paid without having to bring them back to council.
Sounds like item by item to me.
Okay, so we're gonna go item by item.
We need a separate vote on each item.
Yeah.
We may be overdoing it, but I can't see any
Yeah,
way that they
let's
can
just-
object to it.
Yes, sir. We just wanna, and I tell you before we start, these numbers look good to me. Okay, item 13, approval of grant, project, budget, and fee schedules. Item A, GLO F341 East WWT improvements, $2,400,000. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve a GLO F341.
Second.
Could I have a motion by Mr. McWaters, a second by Mr. Buckley? All those in favor? Okay. Motion carries 7-0. Item B, GLO F342, water well plant number 1 and well number 6 generators, $1,100,000.
Make a motion to approve item 13B.
Second.
Can I have a motion by Mr. Buckley, a second by Mr. McWaters? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Item 3, GLO F343, Helen Street flood and drainage improvements, $1 million.
I make a motion that we approve item 13C, GLO F343.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion by Dr. Clark, a second by Ms. Hall. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Item D, GLO MIT MOD E924, generators, 5 lift stations, fire station number 1, $1,498,300. All those in favor? Do I have a motion? I'm
I'll
sorry.
make a motion that we approve item 13D,
Second.
GLO MIT MODE 924.
Second.
I'm getting drunk off these numbers, man. I'm not used to reading these kind of numbers. Okay,
I
I have a
second.
motion by Ms. Hall, a second by Mr. McWaters. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 7-0.
Your turn.
Item E, GLO drainage, E206, Tanglewood drainage improvements, $1 million.
Make a motion that we approve item 13E, GLO drainage E206.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Clark. Have a second by Mr. Warwick. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Last but not least for tonight, item F, TDA dash TX CDBG CDV 24 dash 0161 dash water plant number 2 well, $825,000.
Make a motion, we approve letter F, TDA, TX, CD, BG, CDV 24-0161.
Second. Okay, I have a motion by Mr. McWaters, a second by Mr. Warwick. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I say, man, I just want to thank the board and thank the staff, that we can be here at this time to facilitate this, for our city, and it's very much needed. Okay, item 14, Ms. Juanita Lamont.
Yes, sir. In your packet, you found an application for a zoning board of adjustment. We did only have one applicant, which we do need that one applicant to fill the board. We do have openings for alternates, but we did not receive no other applications.
I make a motion, we approve the member Josh Good, the applicant to the zoning board of adjustments.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. McWaters, a second by Mr. Buckley. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Okay, now we will now convene into executive session at 7:59. The City of Cleveland, City Council of Cleveland, Texas reserves the right to convene an executive session at any time during this meeting consistent with Texas Government Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, to discuss matter authorized by law, including Section 55-.071, consultation with attorney, 551-072, deliberation regarding real property, 551-073, deliberation regarding prospective gift, 551-074, personnel matters, 551-076, deliberation regarding security devices or security audits, and Section 551-087, economic development. Okay, and item 15, 551-074, personnel matters, and also,
We'll consider that, sir, after we come out of the executive session.
okay,
So you go into executive session, discuss whatever you're going to discuss, and then the action item in 15 is after we come out of executive session, as I understand is what the plan was.
yes, sir, but I was talking about the, yeah, hour
Okay.
5. yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Just trying to.
Oh, yes, it's all good. Okay, we're now meeting called back to order.
In open session at 8:36.
Yeah, open at 8:36.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we reconsider agenda item number 3 for future deliberation and discussion.
Okay, would that be in the August meeting?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Buckley to reconsider, by Mr. Mike Waters to reconsider item 3 in the August meeting. I have a second by Mr. Buckley. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 7-0. That's it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, we accept the offer for easement acquisition and authorize city manager to execute on easement and right-of-way agreement with Mustang Express Pipeline.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr.
McWater.
Matt Waters, a second by Mr. Ward. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. 6-1, Mayor. 6-1? Okay, I missed you. Okay, motion carries 6-1. Sorry. Okay. Okay.
Your motion, we adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second? Let's go home.